Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Brown's Latest. I am Dave Grendzynski, and this is where everybody comes, we gather around, and we get caught up on some of the latest news items that are tied to our favorite team in all of football, the Cleveland Browns, and then we also tie a take to each of those news items as we progress through the show. Thank you to everyone who has liked our previous episodes and who has subscribed to our channel, and then to all of you who jump in to the viewer comments and get your takes in down there. Really appreciate it. We have some very healthy discussions on a daily basis. Now, coming up on today's show, I'm going to show you some stats. If the Browns could only slightly improve, it will absolutely lead to more wins. How about this? The Deshaun Watson contract may have exposed some collusion between NFL owners, but these newly released documents got me thinking about the Shedeur Sanders slide in the draft, and then I found out when Shedeur is going to win us a Super Bowl. There is a lot to unpack there. Now, the other thing we're talking about today is this. You know how I would love to see Kyle Pitts in a Browns uniform, but I've discovered another trade potential that I think, for a tight end, that I think might be better. And then down in the viewer comments, we have one viewer who just doesn't understand all of this controversy surrounding the quarterback battle. We're going to get to all of it, folks, but first things first. The stats from last year, yes, there is a lot of room for improvement. But when you look at them, folks, I mean, if we can just improve some of these even slightly, 100% it's going to lead to more wins. Let's get a look at some of these stats. Now, we were dead last in scoring offense last year. The Browns only scored 258 points over 17 games. They averaged 15 points a game. The lowest in the NFL, and their 3-14 record tied for worst alongside the Giants and the Titans, but you already know that. Now, some other notable bottom rankings for the Browns in 2024. I mean, at least they weren't dead last in these categories. They were just close. Rushing yards per game, 94.6. That was 29th. Total yards per game, just over 300 at 28th in the league. Passing yards per game, 206. That was 22nd. And then on the defensive side, points allowed. Almost 26 points a game we gave up. We weren't scoring points, and we were giving them up. Not a good combination. And we ranked 27th in first downs. 303 first downs last year. That's it. That is not good, folks, by any stretch of the imagination. But those should be, with the offensive line healthy again, and with the the free agents we signed, and the additions that we have on that offensive line, and then of course the running backs we have added, and now we have quarterbacks who know what they're doing. I think all of this, if just improving, we won 3 games doing that last year, folks. So if you can improve those stats just a little bit, it's going to lead to more wins. I'm telling you, no less than 6 or 7 wins for me. I've already bet it. So let's improve those stats and then move on. Now, did you see this? This document that came out? It's like 60 pages. And it was all tied, started with the Deshaun Watson contract. So the fallout from this continues, Deshaun Watson. So it was a 61-page document. And it detailed the 2022 arbitration ruling on the NFLPA grievance that was put out. Now, it's very confusing, so we're going to break it down like this. So the grievance centered on a meeting that happened right after the Browns gave Watson the contract, the fully guaranteed $230 million. And then based on the blowback that Jimmy and Dee Haslam received from the owners, after they agreed to this disastrous contract, there was little doubt that the owners wanted to make sure something like this didn't happen again. Well, the NFLPA argued that the owners informally agreed never to offer such fully guaranteed contracts. They were like, we're not paying $230 million fully guaranteed, or because that number was only going to go up. So the owners were like, no, this has got to stop right here and now. Now, the arbitrator ruled against the NFLPA. They said, no, the owners aren't doing that. But in the document, in the note, the system arbitrator wrote this. He said, there is little question, his name is Chris Droney, there is little question that the NFL Management Council, with the blessing of the commissioner, encouraged the 32 clubs to reduce guarantees in veteran contracts at the March 2022 annual owners meeting. So essentially what he's saying is, yeah, they were trying to collude. They were trying. Everybody was telling everybody, we got to stop this. Do not ever do that again. And so since Watson's deal, no player has received a fully guaranteed market rate contract. Like it hasn't happened since. And the NFLPA, though, they did not publicize this finding, and they didn't raise any questions about it. And now people are questioning the NFLPA's leadership. They're like, what are you doing? Like, they basically said it happened, and you guys didn't push back. So, but here's the thing. Here's what it got me wondering about. Like, because when Shedeur slid in the draft, remember? Got me wondering, could there be something to the collusion accusations tied to the Sanders draft slide? Remember, Stephen A. Smith called it Kaepernick-level collusion, against Sanders. That's what he called it. And now we got a fan in Georgia who filed a lawsuit, a Civil Rights Act. They said they violated the Civil Rights Act to racial discrimination and breaches of consumer protection laws. So that's going on now. Now, Chris Carter, the Hall of Fame wide receiver, he came out and said, no, there was no collusion, absolutely not there. But after seeing this, I'm like, maybe there's something to it. Maybe, there's smoke, there's fire. So it'll be interesting to see how that court case plays out. And if this document starts generating more conversations about what happened to Shedeur on draft day, we'll just have to wait and see. Hey, but speaking of Shedeur, did you guys see this? How about this? DraftKings laid out his entire career for us. Look at this. Not only did they predict he will be a 7-time Pro Bowler and a Hall of Famer, they have him getting us to the Super Bowl in 2030. So make your plans, folks. Buy your tickets. Find out where that Super Bowl is going to be, because we're all going to be there. Along with a few AFC Championship games. How about that? We'll get to experience that. Tons of playoff appearances. I mean, we're going to be in the playoffs pretty much every year. And, so we have a lot to look forward to. Thank you, DraftKings, for the positive outlook for our future quarterback. Love to see that. Now, we can only hope. We can only hope this is the case. So DraftKings and Cleveland Barstool is involved in this too. But I love this. I thought this was great. But this is what happened. I mean, you kind of make your own news, I guess, this time of year. So, okay, now, speaking of news, the potential tight end trade for the Browns that I think might make a little more sense than Kyle Pitts. And you know how much I love Kyle Pitts. But Christopher Knox of Bleacher Report is the one has to get the credit for this. He's the one who came up with this. And I think he's on target. He says that the Browns might be better off targeting Bears tight end Cole Kmet over Kyle Pitts if you're thinking about long-term deals. Let's start here. We'll start with Kmet's stats. Now, here's the thing. Kmet, I mean, he was highly touted when he came out. Everybody takes him in fantasy every year, but he's been okay, but he hasn't. I don't think he's been what what everybody expected. And so, especially last year. Last year, kind of a down year, and I know he's had some injuries here and there, but he just really hasn't gotten off the schneid. Similar to Pitts, right? Because Pitts, everybody thought Atlanta, he's going to go there, he's going to light it up. Everybody takes him in fantasy every year, and he just hasn't really, done what everybody expected him to do. So, where does this lead us for a trade? Okay, here's the deal. So, Pitts is entering his 5th-year option rookie contract with the $10.9 million cap hit in 2025, according to Christopher Knox of Bleacher Report. Kmet, on the other hand, has a 2025 base salary of $9.9 million, and it's dropping to $8.9 in 2026 and 2027. Here's the other thing. Kmet, he's had a lower draft. He's got a lower profile in draft status. So it might cost you only like a day 2, maybe even a day 3 pick to get Kmet over here. And so Pitts is only 24. Kmet is 26, but he's been healthier and more productive than Pitts over the past 3 years. And the other thing in play here, folks, David Njoku is 28, and his contract is up at the end of the year. And the Bears, remember, they took Colston Loveland, the stud tight end from Michigan, in the draft. You know, so here's what I think could potentially happen in this situation. If let's say Loveland's balling out, although Loveland has already been hurt, he didn't go through minicamp, but they say he'll be ready for training camp. The coach says the Bears want to run 2 tight ends, blah blah blah, whatever. Here's the thing though, if Loveland's balling out and Kmet kind of start, if he starts falling out of favor and the Bears start losing and we're winning and you get towards the trade deadline, I don't know, man. I might consider working something out. Yeah, just from a financial standpoint, and remember, if Watson doesn't play and they can cash in on the insurance and then get that, win that claim and get that money back, and then next year they're going to be to the good on cap space for like 30 to 39 million, somewhere in there. And so they're going to have cap room, so they could potentially make a trade for somebody like Kmet. I would even send him to Njoku, to be honest. Bring him in here and maybe sign him long term and for a number that we can afford. So very interesting. I thought that was great work by Christopher Knox from Bleacher Report. And I love Pitts, and I would love Kmet too. So, but either one of those options to me are good. Now, I'll tell you one thing that is never going to be traded are the viewer comments, because you guys crush it every single day. There is nobody, I don't care what they offer me. We're not trading the viewer comments. We're going to start today with Mike Blakesley, 3753, who says, if we can have the best defense and best special teams, A+ and A+, that would help. But who is our kick/punt returner? Well, Mike, DeAndre Carter was brought in here. Not only did he take Shador's number, but he was brought in here mostly as a return man. So, yes, he may play some wide receiver for us, but he's going to be our returner, at least to start, from everything that we have seen and heard so far. Okay, Tony Martini. Tony says, I don't see what all the controversy is about who our starting quarterback is going to be. Whoever performs and gives us the best chance of winning is who I am a fan of. The name matters none to me, and I agree with that. Like, let's just get somebody in there who is like, I mean, you really can't do worse than what we had with Deshaun Watson. I mean, there's nobody that's going to be that bad. And so I'm with you. We just want to win here in Cleveland, folks. That's all. We want to get back to respectability, and we want a winner. That's all Browns fans want. Okay, Tula G68. By the way, Tony Martini, great take. Tula G68. Once Shador gets handed the ball, he's not coming off the field unless he gets hurt. But that we won't. Let's not think about that. He is going to elevate the offense and help the D by keeping them off the field and rested. He will be the QB for the Browns for the coming decade. And DraftKings, we just showed you, already agrees. He's going to take us to the Super Bowl in 2030. And he's going to be a 7-time Pro Bowler. So Tua G68, I have a feeling he might work for DraftKings. Now, no, I agree. He says Shador knows how to motivate his team and make great reads on defenses. Just win, baby. 100% agree. Tula G68. And we'll end on this one. Now, the YouTube handle, it is FUQ Panthers. Could be Fuke Panthers, but it could also go a different direction, which we won't say. But we'll go with Fuke Panthers on this one. Grizzdog. No, 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 and no. Why would we even consider Pickett with numbers like 14 touchdowns and 15 completions to the bad guys? Remember we talked about, we did the Pickett breakdown yesterday. He's like, or whatever metric that was. He says the only one works one way. He says Sanders under center with his impeccable accuracy surrounded by backs and tight ends and receivers. The Browns have their first double-digit win season in And I say that after Flacco starts the first 3 or 4 weeks, I feel Pickett will be traded quickly before camp so he can integrate with his new team. So there's a vote for Flacco to start the season, Shedeur to take over, and then Shedeur becomes the 7-time Pro Bowler, takes us to the Super Bowl in 2030 and wins it. So there you go. Fuke Panthers. Appreciate the take. Great job. All right, folks, that's going to do it for today's show. Go Browns. We'll see you next time.